Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the loudest voice in the room is rarely the one that succeeds? That the secret to unstoppable growth, unshakable confidence, and life falling perfectly into place isn't in proving yourself to the world, but in focusing on yourself and staying silent. Imagine mastering your mindset, sharpening your skills, and aligning your energy, all while the world keeps talking, and then one day everything changes, not because you demanded it, but because you were ready. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will change how you approach every moment of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment the power of silence, not the silence of absence, but the silence of focus. In a world that constantly demands your attention, your opinion, your reaction, it takes extraordinary courage to step back and focus entirely on yourself. And yet, this is where the magic begins. When you dedicate yourself to growth, when you invest in your own learning, your own discipline, your own values, you begin to see a profound shift, not in the outside world, but in yourself. We live in a culture that celebrates noise. We are rewarded for talking, for sharing, for proving ourselves to everyone around us. But what if the real breakthroughs don't come from broadcasting your life to the world, but from refining it quietly, intentionally, within yourself? When you focus on yourself, you are not being selfish, you are being strategic. You are understanding that the only thing you truly control is your own energy, your own mindset, your own actions. And when you master these, the world responds not because you demand it to, but because your presence alone creates impact. The problem is, most people look for external validation. They speak to be heard, to be noticed, to be seen. And in doing so, they scatter their energy, they dilute their purpose. There is no growth in seeking approval. There is no power in constant explanation. But when you step back and work on yourself silently, diligently, consistently, something incredible happens. Clarity emerges. You start to see patterns, opportunities, and solutions that were invisible in the noise. You realize that the people, the circumstances, the doors that align with your purpose begin to appear naturally. Life starts to fall into place not because you control it, but because you have prepared yourself to receive it. Focus is contagious. When you are quietly committed to your own growth, others notice, not because you told them to, but because your energy speaks louder than words ever could. And opportunities follow, but here's the nuance. It requires patience. It requires resisting the temptation to announce your progress at every turn. It demands trust in the process, even when the results are invisible. You cannot rush transformation. You cannot shortcut mastery. Every day you dedicate to yourself, every skill you sharpen, every habit you cultivate, compounds in ways that the world cannot see until suddenly it becomes undeniable. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity. Focus, work, grow, don't explain, don't justify, don't argue for attention. The more silent and intentional you are, the more natural your influence becomes. People are drawn to confidence rooted in competence, not in boasting. Doors open for those who are ready to walk through them, not for those who demand entry. And this is the paradox. The more you focus inwardly, the more the external world aligns with your vision. So, imagine a life where your energy is spent only on what matters most. Imagine the power of being so committed to your own growth that the world can't help but notice the results. Imagine a quiet strength that doesn't need validation, that doesn't seek approval, that simply exists and attracts everything that aligns with it. This is not luck, this is intentional living. This is understanding that silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. And when you prepare in silence, when you focus without distraction, everything eventually falls into place exactly as it should. And the remarkable part is this: focusing on yourself in silence doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean shutting out the world entirely. It means choosing what deserves your attention and what doesn't. It means consciously deciding where your energy goes. Think about it. Every conversation, every opinion, every distraction has a cost. Every moment spent trying to convince someone of your worth, of your vision, of your capability, is a moment taken away from building the very skills and habits that will make your success. Inevitable when you stop reacting to every voice around you and start responding to your own inner compass. You begin to reclaim power that was quietly slipping away. Consider the analogy of a tree. A tree doesn't announce its growth daily. It doesn't compete with the neighboring trees. It silently draws from the soil, strengthens its roots, and stretches toward the sunlight, and when the season is right, it blooms. The same is true for human potential. When you focus on yourself, your growth, your mindset, your discipline, your roots deepen. You become resilient, you become capable of withstanding storms that would have toppled you in the past. And when your time comes to bloom, it's undeniable. People notice, opportunities appear, and success is not an accident. It is a natural outcome of the work you have done in silence. Too often, we underestimate the power of patience. We live in a culture of instant gratification where results are expected overnight and recognition is demanded at every turn. But true transformation, the kind that changes the trajectory of your life, does not happen on a timetable that anyone else sets. It happens quietly, incrementally, day by day. The person who is silently honing their skills, refining their craft, building their character, may seem invisible at first. But they are laying the foundation for a future that will be unshakable. They are cultivating a life that cannot be ignored. And when that moment arrives, when the alignment occurs, it feels effortless, but it is the result of unwavering focus and disciplined preparation. Silence also teaches you clarity. When you are not constantly defending your choices, explaining your vision, or justifying your actions, you begin to see things more clearly. You see which relationships truly matter. You see which opportunities are worth pursuing and which are distractions. You see where your energy should go and where it should not, and with that clarity comes power, the kind of power that does not rely on noise or approval, but on purpose. Because when you act from purpose, when every action is aligned with your values and your goals, the world naturally begins to respond. Doors open, people show up, and circumstances align in ways that feel almost magical. But it is not magic. It is preparation meeting opportunity. One of the hardest lessons in life is learning to resist the urge to seek validation. We want recognition, we want acknowledgement, and yet those who achieve extraordinary results understand that validation is temporary, fleeting, and often irrelevant. What matters is mastery of yourself, your habits, your mindset. When you master yourself, you no longer need the constant approval of others. Your confidence is internal, your direction is clear, and because of that, the universe begins to conspire in your favor, not because it owes you anything, but because you have positioned yourself to receive it. Silence in this context is not weakness. It is not avoidance. It is strength. It is strategy. It is the understanding that energy is finite, and that your greatest impact comes not from reacting to the noise around you, but from building something lasting within yourself. It is the awareness that life is not a competition to be won with words, but a journey to be mastered through action. Every habit you develop, every skill you refine, every ounce of focus you invest in yourself compounds. And eventually, the results speak for themselves quietly, powerfully, undeniably. So, if you commit to this path, if you choose focus over distraction, growth over recognition, discipline over approval, you will find that life begins to align with your intentions. You will find that challenges become opportunities, setbacks become lessons, and patience becomes your greatest ally. By focusing on yourself and staying silent, you are not hiding, you are preparing, you are positioning. You are creating a foundation so strong that when life shifts, when circumstances change, when opportunity knocks, you are ready, not because you announced it, but because you built it. And in that readiness, in that silent strength, everything truly falls into place. And here is where the transformation becomes truly profound. When you focus on yourself and embrace silence, you develop a kind of magnetism that words alone could never create. People are drawn to those who are deeply aligned with their purpose, not because they are loud or forceful, but because their presence radiates competence, confidence, and clarity. You begin to notice how your energy affects the environment around you. A focused mind creates momentum. A disciplined spirit attracts opportunity, and a silent, intentional approach cultivates respect. Those who once doubted you begin to recognize your capabilities, not because you shouted them out, but because your results speak volumes. One of the most important lessons in this journey is learning the art of selective engagement. Not everything requires your input. Not every challenge needs your immediate reaction. Not every opinion demands your defense. By carefully choosing where to invest your energy, you protect your focus, your growth, and your peace of mind. And in doing so, you begin to see that the world does not need you to prove yourself at every turn. What the world responds to is authenticity, consistency, and competence, the kind that can only be developed through quiet, persistent work on yourself. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop seeking validation, you give yourself the freedom to evolve without distraction. You begin to see the beauty of internal motivation. Instead of measuring your worth against the reactions of others, you measure it against your own progress, your own discipline, your own values. And this is liberating, because when your confidence is internal, it cannot be shaken by criticism or misunderstanding. You are no longer at the mercy of external noise. You are guided by your own compass, and that clarity brings power, direction, and focus. It is in this space of focused silence that innovation emerges. When you are not constantly reacting to the demands of the world, your mind has the capacity to create, to dream, to strategize. Your intuition sharpens, you see connections that others miss. Opportunities that seemed invisible now become visible. And while others are busy proving themselves, you are busy building yourself. You are building skills, resilience, and wisdom that will serve as the foundation for your long-term success. And the beauty of this approach is that it is sustainable. Noise fades, trends change, and opinions shift, but the capabilities you cultivate quietly within yourself endure. Silence also teaches you patience, and patience is one of the most underrated forms of power. Growth cannot be rushed, mastery cannot be hurried, and life cannot be forced into alignment. Every step you take toward your own development compounds over time. Every choice to invest in yourself rather than react impulsively strengthens your foundation. And eventually, the world aligns not because you demanded it, but because you became the person capable of handling the alignment when it arrived. Patience is not passive, it is active preparation. It is the understanding that the seeds you plant today will bear fruit tomorrow, and that your focus and discipline are the water and sunlight those seeds need to flourish. There is also a profound freedom in this approach. When you stop explaining yourself and seeking validation, you reclaim ownership of your life. You are no longer living for the applause or approval of others. You are no longer distracted by competition, jealousy, or comparison. Instead, you are fully present in your own journey, fully responsible for your own growth, fully committed to your own purpose. And it is in this ownership that your actions gain clarity, your decisions gain precision, and your impact becomes inevitable. Ultimately, the path of focusing on yourself and staying silent is a path of alignment. Your habits align with your goals. Your energy aligns with your purpose. Your actions align with your values. And when this alignment occurs, the external world cannot help but respond. Relationships strengthen naturally. Opportunities appear when you are ready for them. Challenges are met with resilience rather than frustration. And what once seemed like chaos begins to organize itself around your preparation, your focus, and your presence. This is the essence of silent power. It is not the loudest voice that shapes the world. It is the most focused, disciplined, and patient individual. It is the person who invests in themselves without distraction, who builds without announcement, who grows without seeking validation. And when this person steps forward into life, everything begins to fall into place, not because the world has changed, but because they have. And it is in this quiet, deliberate work on yourself that true influence, opportunity, and fulfillment emerge silently, powerfully, inevitably. And as this journey continues, something remarkable happens. You start to notice how the world begins to operate differently around you, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Your clarity becomes contagious, your focus becomes magnetic. People start seeking your perspective, not because you have shouted it from rooftops, but because your quiet confidence signals competence and trustworthiness. You learn that influence is not a product of volume or visibility. It is a product of alignment, preparation, and silent consistency. You discover that those who are truly successful do not need to explain every step of their journey. They let the results speak for them. When you focus on yourself, you begin to see the difference between urgency and importance. So much of life is spent reacting to things that feel urgent, but are ultimately inconsequential. Notifications, opinions, social pressures, they demand your attention, yet they rarely move you toward your purpose. By choosing silence and focus, you reclaim your time, your energy, and your mental clarity. You create space to think deeply, to plan strategically, to act decisively. And when you act from this place of intentionality, every step carries weight, every decision carries purpose, and every outcome carries meaning. It is also in this silence that resilience is forged. When you are not constantly seeking validation or approval, you learn to face challenges for what they truly are, opportunities for growth. Setbacks no longer shake you. Criticism no longer diminishes you. Obstacles no longer derail you. Because your sense of self-worth is no longer tied to external perception. It is anchored in the consistent work you are doing to become the best version of yourself. And this inner resilience becomes your superpower, allowing you to navigate complexity with calm, confidence, and clarity. Another profound shift that occurs is the development of discernment. When you are focused inwardly, when you observe rather than react, you start to recognize what truly matters. You understand which relationships are supportive and which are draining. You see which opportunities align with your goals and which are distractions. You become capable of making decisions that protect your energy and accelerate your progress. And in doing so, you not only conserve your resources, but you also amplify your impact, because every action is deliberate, every effort is aligned, and every choice is intentional. There is a quiet elegance in this approach to life. People often confuse silence with passivity, yet it is anything but. Silence is a strategy, a discipline, a form of strength that allows you to focus on what you can control. Your growth, your actions, your mindset. The louder the world becomes, the more valuable the ability to remain centered, to work diligently, to maintain your focus without distraction. And as you embrace this, you realize that life rewards those who prepare quietly, who act with intention, and who cultivate skills and habits that are invisible to the eye but undeniable in effect. This path also cultivates patience and long-term thinking. When you are no longer caught up in the immediate reactions and validations of others, you develop a perspective that allows you to see beyond short-term gains. You understand that true success is not measured in moments of recognition, but in the consistent accumulation of effort, skill, and discipline. You learn to trust the process, to embrace the journey, and to value the preparation more than the applause. Because those who are prepared quietly, those who focus without distraction, eventually find that the world aligns with them when the timing is right, not because they forced it, but because they were ready for it. Moreover, focusing on yourself in silence allows for a depth of creativity and insight that is rare in a world obsessed with noise. When you are not constantly reacting to external pressures, your mind has the freedom to explore, to innovate, and to connect ideas in ways that others cannot. You begin to solve problems not just reactively, but proactively. You start to anticipate needs, see opportunities before they appear, and create solutions that have lasting impact. This is the power of quiet focus. It transforms not only your life, but also the lives of those you touch. Ultimately, the act of staying silent and focusing on yourself is a declaration of trust in your own journey, trust in your own capabilities, and trust in the natural alignment of life. It is the understanding that when you commit to growth, consistency, and intentionality, the universe responds. Opportunities present themselves, relationships strengthen, challenges are met with resilience, and everything begins to fall into place. Not because you demanded it, not because you forced it, but because you became the person capable of receiving it. This is the silent power of focus, the quiet influence of preparation, and the inevitable outcome of investing deeply in yourself.